So, today I'm going to be trying out at least more or less every top boot that we sell on unisportstore.com, so you don't have to, in order to tell you how they fit, both in terms of shape, but also of course in terms of sizing, to let you know which model and or size you should choose next time you're looking at buying one of, I think there's 44 pairs of boots on the bench here. Now, the system is that I've decided to go with my regular size depending on the brand that you can see right over here. And then I'm just gonna tell you how they fit for size and width and shape, basically to try and find you the optimal fit. And at the end, I'm also gonna tell you which 3 boots I think fits me the best with my relatively slim foot. It's gonna be a long video, there's a lot of boots, so you know me, I talk a lot. We should probably just get started. But Jay, how do I find my right size across all the brands? And it's a very good question because it can be a little bit of a jungle. So my foot is 24.7 centimeters long. In Nike boots, that is a US 7, UK 6, Europe 40. But in Adidas, I'm going to a UK 6.5 to get the best possible fit. So again, converting between the brands can be a little bit difficult. But the key lies in finding how long your foot is, because then you can use the Japanese sizes, which actually works with millimeters or centimeters. So for me, 24.7 meters, that's a long foot, centimeters long of course, I am a Japanese 25 centimeters or 250 millimeters. So I should go as a baseline for that. And that works across all the brands. So find out how long your foot is and look at the Japanese sizing. That's the best tip. And we can start out with the Mercurials, the Superfly 10 and the Vapor 16. I'm only gonna wear the Vapors because they fit really similar. There's just a sock collar on the Superfly. But what you get here with my, medium width to maybe a little bit of a slim foot here, rather snug fit in the Vapor 16. The length is more or less true to size for my foot. Little bit of space here, but that's gonna even itself out as I stand up. Rather snug in the midfoot and a pretty good close fit around the heel. So true to size is what I would do here, but if you have a wide foot, keep it in mind. It is grip knit, so it will shape around and mold around the shape of your foot, but it's not gonna stretch per se that much, at least. So good snug sock-like fit, true to size. And then there is the Phantom GX2 and the Phantom Luna 2, which again are basically the same boot. The Luna just has a color. And I often think of the GX2 as kind of like the wider brother to the Mercurial, because there is more width in the forefoot right here at least. The toe box is a little bit on the narrow side, but the midfoot is also very wide. You can see here, there's a lot of space in the midfoot for if you have a flatter foot or a wider foot there. But if you also have a very wide toe or toe box, just keep it in mind that it is a little bit pointy here. I would also say it's maybe a smidge long, but true to size is probably also the way to go here. And I just have a little bit, for me, there's volume in the heel. It's not as tight fitting as I would want it to be. I can get my finger down. The Luna fits a little bit better there because the sock kind of pulls it a little further onto the heel. So I personally like that. But depending on your foot shape, a little bit more room in the heel in the GX2. Definitely one of the best options for wide feet from Nike. A true to size. And then there's Tiempo Legend 10, which sits a little bit in between the Mercurial and the Phantoms, I would say, in terms of the width at least, because it's not super snug like the Vapors, but it's not wide either. And because you have a synthetic upper material rather than leather like the Tiempo has been, it doesn't stretch as much and is not as wide as the Tiempos have previously been in the past. Lengthwise, I would say true to size, more or less spot on for me, and it's a pleasant fit that kind of just sits in the middle. Little bit, as you can see, of space in the heel here for me. But if you have a slightly more volume in the heel, that's not a problem. Solid. And finally, the Nike Premier 3, which is also the only Nike boot left with a leather upper. Now, it's also on the, I would say, the wider side. It's not super wide, but it's accommodating because you have this rather deep U-throat lacing here that you can open up if you need to adjust it to a wider foot, or similarly, if you need to pull it in, you can also do that. Fit, true to size, absolutely perfect. The heel is lovely. It hugs the foot nicely, and overall, just a pleasant, padded, not custom fit, but it just molds nicely, and it will stretch if you need it to. And then we move to Germany with Adidas and the Predator Elite FT and the Elite Laceless and the regular Elite. And I've kind of bundled all the 3 of them because they fit more or less the same. So in terms of the length, it's true to size. My foot is basically at the end of the upper here. The toe box is a little bit low and pointy, so I can definitely feel the upper on my big toe. It's rather snug out there, but if you like that, like I do, it's cool. The pred fits on the, I would say, snug side. You can really pull it in around the midfoot, get this very sculpted fit. But you can also still, especially with the fold over tongue here, you can open it up a little bit more, get that big opening around the midfoot if you have a little bit more width. The heel is on the, I would say, the slim fitting side, which is good. There's a little bit of space to get your finger down, but it sits rather closely. And it's even better in the Elite, where you can pull it ever so slightly closer because you don't have that big opening because of the tongue that folds down. And if you want it as tight and snug as possible, you can look at the laceless model. Obviously, lockdown will suffer because you don't have the laces, but it will give you a slightly more snug and tight fit throughout. And if you really need to like just have a wide foot here in the midfoot and just stretch that tongue, you can also try that. I personally wouldn't. I would just go for the laced option because you can just adjust a bit more, but I know some wide-footed people that just like the laceless version because it just slip and slide. So true to size, and maybe on the slightly narrow fitting side for me. And then of course there is the F50 Elite, the regular one with the laces, which I do have maybe quarter of a size in the length extra that I don't fill out. It's the very tip of the boot, so it's okay for me, but if you are on the verge, just keep that in mind. Width-wise, I would say it's obviously, it does have a pretty sleek sculpted fit, so there is some hugging in the midfoot, but because you have that open lacing and the compression fit tongue, which is this stretch material, you can also, you can squeeze a wider foot down there if you want to. That's the good thing about having the conventional lacing in there, that there is a little bit more adjustability. So the heel actually sits rather close to the foot here. It squeezes the part of the heel, locks it in nicely. A little bit of, again, I do have a very, very slim heel, as you can see. So I do have a little bit of space there, but it's not criminal. And I would say a sleek, sculpted fit, I go true to size, that's the best option for me, but if you really want it snug, you can probably go down half a size and be, you'll feel it, but you can do it. And then there's Big Brother F50 Plus, which is this monster with the Light Strike Pro Foam underneath. That should have had laces to really utilize that, but that's a whole other video to discuss that. Because the fit in this is very similar to the regular F50 Elite, but somehow, it feels ever so slightly more roomy, so I still have that room on the toe box lengthwise, but I also just have a little bit more room, especially in the heel. It doesn't hug it as tightly, and overall the boot just feels a little bit more, loose for my foot. Again, it is slim. I'm not really pushing the boot here. I reckon it could do rather well for wider feet. At least it's not the end of the world if you have a wide foot. Would I go down half a size? Maybe. Would not be the worst idea if you want that really, really snug fit. But if you have a slim foot, lockdown is going to suffer because of no laces. And the F50 Messi Elite is basically the same fit as the regular F50 Elite, but with a slightly softer upper. And also you have the burrito style tongue instead of the standard compression fit tongue, which I personally like the compression fit tongue a little bit better for the way that it fits around the midfoot here. But the burrito style tongue allows you to adjust and open up a little bit more. So I would say that if you have the wide foot, you want an F50, the F50 Messi Elite is just a little bit better because the material is softer. I feel it'll mold a little bit easier for me, and also you can adjust the midfoot just that bit more easily. A little bit of space in the length again. I wouldn't go down, so I would stay true to size like I do here, but if I really want to just get that snug fit and punish my feet a little bit, it is possible. Decent width with like that streamlined shape around the midfoot, and I really enjoy the fit in the Messis here. It's comfortable, it's sleek, but it just fits. And then we've got ourselves the Copa Pure 3 Elite and the Copa Pure 3 Elite laceless, which again, they fit relatively similar, except for, of course, the laces. Now, lengthwise, I should probably go down half a size here. I've got a lot of space, definitely half a size here on the toe box. There's just a little bit like, yeah, it's comfortable and cozy, but I don't want my boots to be cozy. I want them to fit closely and feel like I can perform in them. Midfoot, again, it's snug for my foot, but you can also open up. Maybe a U-throw tongue would have been a little bit better, but it's really nice. The heel is phenomenal, guys. It sits really closely, it's nice and soft, it pinches in all the right places. And again, there's no big gaps here, it just fits. So go down half a size in both of these. Obviously laceless, if you want it a little bit more tight around your foot, this is good, but go down half a size in that as well. And you're going, this is a glove. And then there's the Copa Icon 2, which might be one of the best fitting boots for my foot, at least out there. I'm definitely also going to go down half a size, I think, in this, because it is a leather forefoot, so it will stretch. I just have, just like on the Copa Pure 3, I have that little bit of extra space, like quarter to half a size in the toe box. I want that slightly more snug fit, so going down half a size as possible. Really deep lacing, classic U-throw tongue. You can open it up, it accommodates for wider feet. The heel is phenomenal, it's tight, it doesn't squeeze. Like, this is good. This is very good. And finally, one of the granddads of football boots, the Copa Mundial in this beautiful white black. Yeah, this is definitely too big for me. I should at least go down half a size, if not a full size, actually, because there is a lot of extra space in the forefoot. Of course, this is great for wider feet. You can really open it up. It has a rather, you can just see there's tons of space around my midfoot and the heel part here. So going down half a size to a full size will help. Just keep it in mind that, you know, if you just go through the size, it might be a problem. Oh, and the laces are long. I don't know why they still do this, but they're too long. And then there is the PUMA Ultra Carbon, which definitely runs half a size long. So this is actually a UK 6.5. I'm normally a UK 6 in PUMA. This is a Europe 40, which is usually my normal size, and it is way, way, way too big. I should probably go down half a size to maybe like a 5.5. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there is a lot of width in the forefoot here. It runs really long. Width-wise, it's actually going to be okay. One of the slightly wider fitting speed boots, I would say, and the heel it's on the looser side, so a bit of a weird fit for me, the Ultra Carbon. Just be mindful of the length and the sizing here. At least down half a size, I would say. Yeah, that's better. The regular Ultra Ultimate definitely fits me better. This is also what I should wear in PUMA, a UK 6. There is still a little bit of space at the toe, but I wouldn't say it's enough to go down half a size on this one. And in general, I think this just fits a little bit more, I would say, normally. There's not that big of a toe lift. And it's just a nice, snug, really sleek sensation here. But again, you can actually adjust the midfoot to accommodate for wider feet. Little bit of like open space in the heel, as it's not a surprise anymore, but true to size, I would go in the Ultra Ultimate. And it's a solid fit. And then there's the Future 8 Ultimate, which has always fit me a little bit weird, the Futures, because there is just that, maybe just like on the Ultra, but even more so, a little bit of that like quarter size space at the end of the toe. Not enough to go down half a size for me, so I'm still true to size. And there's just that little bit, it's not disconnect, but there's just a little bit of extra room out there. Otherwise, actually a relatively snug fit, especially compared to previous Future models. And if you have a wide foot, that inner Lycra piece will feel very nice around your foot, but that outer shell, the synthetic piece of the upper, is not gonna stretch much, so you will have to accept at least a snug fit in the Future 8, for me at least. Heel is a little bit on the shallow side and doesn't really pinch the heel as much as I would love to, but around the top part of the foot, it actually does a pretty good job at just staying snug. But yeah, go true to size, because if you go down half a size to accommodate for the length, it's gonna be very, very snug. And it will be too snug for me. And then there's the PUMA King Ultimate, which just confuses me because all the other PUMA boots have been running a little bit long for me, whereas this might toe it at the very edge of the toe box here. So I want to go up half a size in these from my regular size UK 6. Width-wise, it's actually okay. I would say it's definitely on the slightly wider side for me. The heel is absolutely phenomenal, super soft, and it does fit me, even my relatively slim foot, closely on the top part of the foot. But go up half a size and you should be pretty happy. And then you just need to break it in and it's actually solid.
So after finishing up this segment, we were actually interrupted by a team of handball players who needed to use the locker room, so we had to pack up and come back tomorrow.
And we're back, it's the next day, and we can start taking a look at Mizuno, the Mizuno Alpha 2 Japan, which I reckon is one of the best fitting boots on the market in terms of the shape. Now size-wise, just like the first generation, it is a little bit tricky for me at least, because I'm kind of stuck in between two sizes. Going through the size, I do have a little bit of extra space on especially the outside of the toe, just like I did in the first generation. But with that said, the rest of the boot is phenomenal. So for me, you know, if I go through the size, it's ever so slightly more cozy than I maybe want to, and if I go down half a size, it is really on the snug side. But because the shape is so good, I can basically wear both depending on my mood. So it also depends on what you're looking for here. The rest of the boot is great in the width. You have a really deep lacing system that you can open up, really adjust to the shape of your foot. It's built for Asian feet. Obviously, they are a bit flatter, a bit wider, so they accommodate for that. The heel is absolutely fantastic, and the little changes Mizuno have made so the boot wraps over the top of the foot also means that you get this very snug, close, personal sensation while being really comfortable, really well-fitting. Yeah, phenomenal. But just keep that, you know, sizing thing in mind based on your preferences. And then there's another great fitting boot in the Mizuno Morelia Neo 4 Beta Japan and Elite, which kind of fit the same. And for me, the right choice is definitely to go true to size. It is what fits my 24.7 centimeter foot the best. 25 centimeters right here. But if I have this kind of day where I feel like I just want the tightest fit, you know, being really close to the ball, going down half a size in the Japans where the leather is so soft, it will stretch and it will accommodate, is also an option. But I think for most people, true to size is the right way to go. The shape is amazing, really. It's nice and sleek and streamlined. The midfoot is on the snug side, so if you have a really wide or flat foot, maybe the Morelia Neo is not the optimal choice, but you know, for me, it's absolutely fantastic. Heel is great, and it just fits. And that brings us to the evergreen, the Mizuno Morelia II Japan, which is just, the length is spot on, true to size. The width is, even for my slightly slimmer foot, really accommodating, fits nicely around the midfoot, but there is room for a wider foot as well. And being that it is leather, it has that really deep lacing system, you throw tongue, meaning you can open up, it will accommodate for basically most foot shapes. The heel is lovely, it's relatively lightweight for a leather boot, and it's just, yeah, it works. It's just for everyone. Love for everyone. And finally, I want to mention the Monarcida Neo Pro, which is just a really good budget kind of cousin to the Morelia Neo. Now, obviously on the Pro, the forefoot is a synthetic leather, but still really nice and soft. There's a little bit more volume in the midfoot and in the heel, but other than that, it fits like the Morelia Neo, meaning that going true to size in the length is probably the right decision. And then width-wise, there is room to play with and still fits my relatively slim foot really well. It's a great option. And then we can move to New Balance with their brand new Furon B8 Elite, which is going to feel more or less painted on your foot if you go true to size. Now that might be a good thing for you or a bad thing. For me, going true to size, my toe sits at the very tip of the toe box. And since the knit upper here is really soft, it's okay. But if you prefer a slightly more cozy fit, you know, a little bit more wiggle room for your foot to like move a bit around as you move around on the pitch, going up half a size isn't all that bad of an idea either. Width-wise, it does really well. New Balance in general are good for wider feet. Lacing could be a little bit deeper maybe for that. The heel is very, very nice for me. Tight fitting, hugs the heel really well. But if you have a wider fitting heel, it might be on the tight side. Just keep it in mind. But on New Balance's other new boot, the 442 Elite, the length, for me at least, if you go true to size, is absolutely perfect. And out of the box, this is right up there among the best in terms of the fit for my foot. So there's not much space. There's like, what, a millimeter of extra space on the toe box true to size. There's decent width to work with in the midfoot, also in the heel. And because the upper is so soft, it's not gonna stretch, but it will mold around your foot more or less no matter its shape. So very accommodating and very comfortable. On little brother, the V2 Pro, which is now full synthetic instead of a leather full foot, it's basically the same with the length, but because you have the big lacing and the U-throw tongue, you can actually open up and accommodate even better for wider feet. So if you do have a wide foot, this is a great option. And last but not least, for New Balance, the Tekela V4 Plus Pro, and of course the laceless version as well, which is a really interesting fit for me. So you've got a really soft upper and a bit more width than both the Furon and the full foot too, especially in the full foot. The midfoot tapers a little bit more, but still has a decent amount of width to work with. And then the heel for me is very interesting because it matches the shape of my heel perfectly. It's a bit more sculpted and follow that natural curvature of the heel, has this pinch point right here to really offer a good hold. But if you have a bit more volume in the heel, just keep that in mind. It might be on the tighter side. Lengthwise, absolutely perfect. The same thing can be said for the laceless version. Obviously doesn't have as much lockdown, but feels a little bit more snug in the midfoot than the one with laces. But true to size is the way to go. And then there is the Sokito Scudetta, one of my favorite boots right now, which funnily enough, doesn't fit me perfectly lengthwise. I have a little bit of, I wouldn't call it dead space, it's just a little bit of extra space on the outside of the toe box here. But apart from that, I get this really, snug, close-fitting sensation all over the boot. It is rather sculpted, but again, deep lacing system, U-throw tongue, it means that you can open up and adapt if you have a wider foot. And the shape also allows for that. Heel is really good, it's neither too tight nor too loose. And if you feel that the Scudetta is a little bit too snug and you don't want to go up half a size, which I definitely couldn't, I would have too much space in the toe, what I've done is swap the insole. The one in here is a little bit thicker. I've swapped it for the thinner F50 insole, and it just gives a little bit more volume inside for a close to perfect fit. And then I've laced up in Skechers, which might have been at the end of a lot of jokes for their sneakers over the years, but their football boots are definitely no joke. The Razor here fits much like a Nike boot, I would say. True to size, and the length is perfect for me. But what Skechers also does is to make their boots slightly more anatomical, meaning that, especially on the toe box here, you see that it's a little bit wider here. It's not as pointy. There's also good width throughout the midfoot, and the heel has this, just like on the Sokitos, this great combination of not being too tight or too loose. And I think that no matter if you have a slim or a wide foot, you're gonna get a great fit in the Razor here if you go true to size, unless you have like the widest foot known to man. But otherwise, great. And the same thing can actually be said for the SKX, which is also for me perfect if you go true to size. It has that slightly more, wide full foot with the anatomical shape, decent width in the midfoot, and still it manages to feel snug across your foot. There's no, dead space, and it just fits my relatively slim foot. It will fit wide feet really well. The heel is nice and well balanced, and if you go true to size, I just think you're gonna get that sweet balance no matter your foot shape, unless it's like super wide. And then the Under Armour Shadow Elite 3, which is a really interesting option if you like knitted boots and you have a slightly wider foot. See, lengthwise for me, it is more or less perfect. I do actually have a little bit of extra space out here, and especially on the outside of the toe box, and like volume-wise, there's just a little bit of extra volume for me here. But if you wear thicker socks or you just have a little bit more volume on your foot, you might still feel that the boot is very nice to mold around the shape of your foot. The midfoot shape is initially a little bit on the snug side, but because it is knit, you have the knit tongue, and you have a lot of lacing options here, you can open up the lacing and allow the tongue to stretch, so it will also fit wider feet. Heel, no complaints, it fits really nicely, has a good balance width to it while still being snug, so it's not the perfect fit for me, but if you have a little bit more volume in the toe box, in the midfoot, it'll do very nicely. And it's soft and comfortable and really nice. And then I'm gonna say Buongiorno Italia with the Diadora Brasil Elite Tech, made in Italy of course, which is, from a fit perspective, really weird for me, because I know, as a rule of thumb, with Diadora boots, they run long, so I actually already cheated a little bit and went down half a size from what I would normally do. A UK 6.5, 25 centimeters. This is a 24.5 UK 6. Which means that it should fit me perfectly. However, I still have almost a thumb's width of space, lengthwise, extra on top of my toe. which means that I should probably, ideally, lengthwise, go down another half size, which I just don't think would feel comfortable from a width perspective. But actually the boot does fit relatively wide in the forefoot, and even though the midfoot is on the snug side, you do have the deepish lacing system, you do have the U-throw tongue so you can open up and actually adjust really well to fit wider feet as well. Especially because the heel is wide. It's a little bit loose for my slim-ish heel. As you can see, I can just put 2 fingers down. It's not the fit I'm looking for in the heel, but for a wider foot, if you can get the length right, it could be okay. But it's confusing. And I'm also confused about the Brazil Elite Veloce GR made in Italy, because going down half a size from what I would normally do to a UK 6, I still have that almost like thumb's width of length in the forefoot that I don't really know what to do with, because the rest of the boot actually fits relatively snug. There is a little bit of width to work with in the midfoot, but with that said, it manages to sit very nicely on top of the foot here, really hug it well, and it's actually a rather pleasant fit. And for me, the heel is a lot better in the Veloce compared to the Brazil Elite Tech. It's much closer to the heel, it's secure, it's snug, but it doesn't have any pressure points, and the liner is phenomenal in there. So it's just a matter of this length thing in the full foot. If it fits you, great. And if you have a wide foot, you can accommodate, but I just can't get the fit right because of the length. And come closer. There's also this stiff plastic sticker thing on the tongue that says made in Italy. Nice. But if you really care a lot about how smooth your tongue fits, it's just gonna be a little bit, you know, in the way in terms of molding around your foot. And then there is the OG Brazil Elite, which for me is easily the best fitting Diadora boot out there, because I followed my rule of thumb and gone down half a size, and it is perfect compared to the Brazil Elite Tech and Veloce. What you get here is a boot that has a little bit more room to it in general. It does fit my foot relatively tightly, which is good, but you just feel that there is room to work with if you have a slightly wider foot as well. Especially here in the midfoot, there's good room in the forefoot. The heel is really nice and accommodating. It can also fit a slightly wider heel than mine, which is good. You have that deep lacing system, you throw tongue, you can adjust, which is really nice. So if you just go down that half size and you give the upper a little bit of time to break in, it's a really good, no-nonsense, modern take on like the classic leather boot with a little bit of comfort and room to work with. It's spacious, it's cozy. Go down half a size. But we stay in Italy with another one of the OG boots, the Lotto Stadio, which is, funnily enough, another boot that I have a little bit of a hard time wrapping my head around in terms of the sizing. So I went with my usual 25 centimeters, which equates to a UK 6. That's all fine. But the thing is that there's still a lot of space in the toe of this boot, which means that, again, lengthwise, I should probably go down half a size to get the best possible fit. And maybe I could, but overall, it fits much like the Copa Mundial, so you can open up. I could get a little bit of width, especially in the heel. It's very loose. I have a lot of room right here, but I'm not 100% sure that going down another half size would be a comfortable enough fit for me to really wear. But if you are looking at the Lotto Stadio, I would probably go with my Japanese size and then go down half a size from that. That's what I do. But I'm a bit on the verge, to be honest. But the Lotto Solista 8 is probably the best fitting Lotto boot for me. So there's the 200 with laces and the 100 gravity without the laces, and they fit relatively similar. You just get a bit more lockdown in the 200s. Now lengthwise, I went true to size, and that is probably the right way to go for most people. I do have maybe like a quarter of a size extra length all over my toe, but I don't think it's enough for me to go down that half size, especially because the boot is on the tighter fitting side, I would say, in the midfoot. So for my relatively slim foot, it does give me a snug fit already. And because the laces aren't that long, even if you open them up and allow the tongue to stretch a little bit, allow the knit upper to mold, you won't have much lacing left to actually tie the boots if you need that wider, accommodating shape. So there's that. The heel is not the tightest I've ever had, so if you do have a bit of volume in the heel, that's probably gonna feel really nice for you. But I would stay true to size in both. And then there is the Lotto Maestro 100, which I find to be one weird fitting boot. Now, first things first, good luck getting it on, because the knit here, the knit tongue, is tight. And if I'm panting a little bit, it's because I was struggling to get it on. And the thing is that once you finally get it on, if you go true to size, you're probably gonna wanna take it off right away because it is way too long. I'm thinking at least a full size, if not a full size and a half, down from this would be good for me lengthwise. I mean, there's more than a thumb's width of space in the length. The width in the forefoot is actually solid and the knit is pretty soft, but the midfoot is so tight that if I was to go down a full size, I don't really think I would like the fit right there. And given that the tongue is so tight, for wide-footed people, it's gonna be a big no. And also the heel is just on the loose fitting side. There's not much lock for me. So I don't really know what to tell you because going down a full size will not work. This definitely doesn't work. So maybe look somewhere else. And finally, we have the Pantofola Doro Superstar, which is this very no-nonsense full K leather slipper for your foot, which if you go true to size, you're gonna get maybe a little bit of extra space in the length, but not enough for me to go down half a size, I would say. Width-wise, there is width to work with. Of course, pretty decent deep lacing, U-throw tongue construction, and there is also, the shape allows for a little bit of space for wider feet to also feel at home. That also means for my slightly slimmer foot, it does feel, I wouldn't say spacious, but maybe a little bit more cozy than what I'm looking for. So if I wanted that really tight fit and I would allow the leather to stretch, going down half a size is also a possibility. Heel is fine, and it depends on what you want. Cozy fit, wide foot, stay true to size, slimmer foot, if you want it snug, very personal, go down half a size. Yeah, that was a lot. And if you've stuck with me to the end, I applaud you, because that was a lot of putting on and taking off football boots. But at least now I've tried more or less all of the top models that we sell at Unisport to give you an idea about how they fit me in terms of size, length, and width. With that said, there's no guarantee that that's how they will fit you, because people have different foot shapes and of course also preferences. But at least now you have this information out there to work with. Now, I also promised to highlight what I think are the best fitting boots for my foot, and that would probably be the Mercurial Vapors. I really like those. The Copa Icon 2s. The Mizuno Alphas, the Morelia Neos, of course, are really great. I love the way the new Balance Tekela fits me, and obviously also the Sokitos. And both the Skechers boots are surprisingly well-fitting as well. But if I had to narrow it down to, let's say, 3, I would have to say Mercurial Vapor, perfect for my slimmer foot, Copa Icon 2, and the Morelia Neo. But I'd also love to hear what you think is the best fitting boot for you and what you typically do in terms of sizing and all your sizing niggles. So let me know in the comment section right down below. If you need any of the boots I've tried on today, hit the link to Unisport right over there. If you just want to see more boot videos, there's a playlist right down there if you're not super boot fatigued right now. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, well, do that with the notifications on. And with those words, I've got a lot of boots to pack down, so I'll be signing off. Cheerio.